Okay, let's make some stuff, shall we? Right, I want to use Ableton Stock Devices here. Wavetable is something that I just keep coming back to. For me, I can get a lot of ambient textures and dubby textures by just putting a sine wave through a delay or like some kind of big reverb. The key thing that when I'm creating stuff like this, it's like I want it to be useful for people who don't necessarily know how to play chords. So essentially, I think we should probably bring in a scale device here, because I think MIDI is going to play an important part in like creating some of this stuff. Like the kind of dub techno chords I hear are often like something like they've got the root note and maybe the fifth, but like an inversion of it. So it's kind of the fourth below. You could go up to the fifth, which chromatically is 7 steps above the tonic. Let's say we're going to work in F here. So I think I'm just going to go for minor, F minor. Nice and easy. You know, you could probably put some filtering on that and you'd be like well on your way. I'm kind of keen for it to be quite chunky, you know. And to modulate and change a lot. I don't want it to be like static. I want it to be evolving. The thing with creating stuff like this is it's like subtle changes over a long period of time. You know, it's hypnotic, it's drone like. Okay, so we just got we got the fifth above there, but let's drop it below. That kind of sounds good above, doesn't it, really? I want like a filter, like a filter envelope on this. Probably put the delay up a bit. Sorry, the the release. The unison mode is great. Very nice, isn't it? And you can modulate the unison amount, I believe. Yeah, you can. Which is pretty cool, isn't it? I find when creating stuff like this, new instrument racks, new presets or whatever, I just make loads of them. I make loads and loads, and then I just chuck them all in a set and kind of play back through them like a few months down the line and just tweak them a bit more and stuff, and pick my favourites or the ones that have worked better than others. They're really just experiments, you know. You're kind of getting there, aren't you? I really love like the warping and stuff. It can be almost like a bit pulse width modulation. I mean, maybe we'll do that with the second oscillator. And we could also like modulate the filter. So I'm going to go for a minor third in the chord and then put it up an octave, like a tenth interval. But I'm going to kind of create different like chord voicings and then incorporate this into like one big rack. So let's turn these off. This is kind of as I would do it. So. Have like really simple voicing here maybe. So a quick way to do this is we got 7, right? So it's going to be 0 to 6. Okay, and then you can right click distribute ranges evenly. Then we need to set in our mapping controls, we'll need to set that to be like 0 to 6. Okay. Yeah, 0 to 6. And that means we can kind of like scroll through the different chord voicings. You could map the intervals and stuff, but you know, there's too much choice then. It's too much choice. Like when you're mapping macro stuff, like it feels to me like you want to go for the stuff that's going to affect the sound the most when you're changing it. We'll go up to 1. That's got an octave above it now. I'll go to this one. We'll just turn them all on. Maybe we could put a third up. that's nice. Go in. I go for like a fourth. Kind of like a major seventh sound. Maybe even add a... And then on the final one, I don't know, we can stick some... Don't want anything too jazzy really for this. Kind of like again a major seventh sound but slightly different. Okay, and it, like, I kind of see like creating stuff like this a bit like when you're, you know, sketching tunes out. Like there's no right way to do anything. It's kind of all just experimentation, and then you can review it later on. Probably have like a drum pattern of some sort to get some context. You can see the envelope is like making... I'm just doing like short little stabs here. Right, so I'm going to introduce the second wavetable now, and we'll kind of map that here as well. We'll do like some different LFO treatment here. A bit slower than that. And of course you could like, we could modulate the LFO rate with LFO2 rate with LFO1 rate. It's probably cool for like more crazy sounds. So I'm going to group these now, right? What I really love to map is the time and the amount on Wavetable. I feel like you get your biggest bang for your buck with these ones. Right, let's go. Let's introduce some delays and stuff now. I always like to kind of like start from first principles, so keep it tight and small and not too many devices, and you can always just add stuff. And like I'll actually kind of create this as like a little return chain. We'll have like a dry chain and then like echoes and stuff, different echoes. I'm going to bring the second filter in as well, and like just draw some MIDI notes in on F. Just give us a like, it's easier than me like constantly playing on the keyboard. So in Echo, I like using like the modulation for the filter. That can be really cool, particularly if we like turn off sync and we can like extend it out a bit. I want to introduce a bit of character as well, maybe some noise. I'm going to mess around with the wavetables a bit more, so we'll have some wobbles, some like tapey wobble stuff. Do some ducking, it's quite cool. Yeah, that. That's great. That's great. Some reverb on that. I feel like, what would you want to map in this? That ducking is so sick. Yeah, so we could introduce some other notes here, can we? Yeah. We're well on our way there, really, aren't we? You know, if I was going to push this a bit more, I might be tempted to like drive the filters, or at least have that as an option. Because I think that can introduce some really interesting stuff. Yes. We'll add in a touch of randomness. Yeah. I reckon if we stick that there, we want to be able to control this. So sometimes my macro mappings are a mess, and this is the kind of stuff that I might tidy up, or just, I'm fine with it. You know, if I'm fine with it, if it's built all over the place, as long as it sounds good, really. So chance, you could, even if it's a small amount, you know, we'll get some different chord voicings, like 5%. That sounds pretty legit to me already. What are we going to do here? What are we going to map? I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to not second guess myself here. Yeah, feedback would be great. Reverb would be cool. I don't want to map every single control. In driving the input can be quite cool. And then I'll tell you what, we're going to put at the end of the chain here. Utility. This is just going to give us our like final... I always do a volume right at the end of stuff and exclude that from macro variations, from randomization, sorry. I think it would be cool to like change the filtering. Do that. Why not? Nice. Because we'll need to map these as well. Unless we have just like a separate delay thing. I might do that in the future, as have like a Dub Techno delay rack. But it's kind of nice to keep everything in one thing, I always think. You know, it's just more user friendly. I'll tell you what else we need to do. Like at this point, I'd need to map this. Right, I'm not going to change this. It can just be minor key, all minor. Notch filtering is pretty cool as well. You know, I'm always keen to like create stuff that's mine, like my own presets, my own sounds and things like that. And I love the limitation of just using Ableton stock devices. I find that really kind of inspiring. I'm going to pull the chain volume down on this one. Maybe we could increase the decay on this. Something big. I've got that at 500%. This reverb, let's jump into here, like warm hall. I much prefer shimmer for like the pitch shifting reverb. I think that's pretty good. Let's okay. I'm just going to save this. There's one more macro we can map. What is it? What should I do? It's a real shame you can't like map the unison here and stuff. We could do the resonance on here. This is a mess, this macro mapping, but that's okay because, you know, the sheer number of these that we will create, we can just choose the ones that we really like, and we can always mess around with the macro mapping further to tidy up. But sometimes it's good when things don't make sense. So we'll call this like Dub Techno Stab Rack, Echo Rack, yeah. Dub Techno Stab Echo Rack. And I like to put the date on, 25/01/08. Nice. And now we can create some, I'm going to do some macro variations. We'll just add some colors on here. So we'll make these maybe the same. The change, the kind of MIDI stuff can be orange. Just leave it like that for now. Make the filter stuff red. This doesn't feel very dub techno, these colors though. Make the delays like greens and purples. This again is red. We'll go for like a softer brick red color here or whatever this is. Gain, final gain can just be pink. No, maybe this. Okay, sick. All right, we've got a little rack here now. So let's just call this, we'll call this stab, like default, just default Dub Techno Stab. So like I'm kind of looking at the like output volume 2. It's going to be like the stock preset, you know. I think when you're naming macros, you want to like name them for the version of yourself in the future that won't remember what you were doing. I always put dB at the end, just like for volume, as a bit of a stylistic thing. But chord voicing, so like charts is fine. Excellent. Cool, so I'm just adding that as a macro snapshot now. Dub Techno Stab, sweet. We've got like our first preset, and then we can move to variation 2. And I've right-clicked on dB, exclude macro from randomization. It might be worth doing the same for chants as well, and potentially for feedback, randomization. Also the input gain, maybe the reverb level, filter drive. Potentially, but I think everything else we can kind of leave, you know, subject to randomization when we click the randomization button. Okay, and we'll just hit. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? Like that could totally be a texture, that with a bit more tweaking, particularly if you had like a band pass on that second filter. I reckon filter type 2. I didn't actually map the frequency, did I? Nice. I'd call this some. I love coming up with names for these things. Sneaky. Right, okay, and we'll say, what's the gain like on this? Cool. Great, now on to variation 3. Just randomize that. Keep going. Right, I don't want this to be, I don't want it to change key. I'm going to exclude macro. I want it to all be in F. Cool, that's pretty good. I was a bit of a klutz not mapping the filter. That's reasonably good. Deep, we'll call that one. Go again. Call that something like squeezed. Let's see if we can get some more stuff out of it. Like I definitely feel I should have mapped the filter. I should have mapped the filter here of filtering. So that's like a note for self next time. Nice, that's great. Sometimes you get lucky. We'll call that juice, yeah? Juice. What's it? Cool, okay. And it gives you a little star if you haven't saved it, so it's quite easy to... Hazed. Let's see if we can get some more. That's great. Alright, that's like kind of a rack, isn't it? That's certainly something. But the main thing was to kind of create do some sound design, and that is, you know, this is what I would do when I get up on a Saturday or something and I've got a free morning. I'll often just spend a couple of hours messing around with making a preset of some sort, making some crazy effect rack. And sometimes my ideas are more inspired than other times, and other times, you know, I'm just going through the motions. One kind of powerful thing about doing stuff like this is you can just go in and change the wavetables and it can drastically alter the sound. You know, if we go in, I don't know, just switch through some of these, maybe just turn it off. No sub as well. Sick. So there's just like, you know, like just changing the wavetables or how, like, you can just create various different versions of this. So we could change it again in here. And like when I go back and listen, like just chuck these in a set, yeah, I'll have a better context then. You know, we got like all these